Welcome back into Indiebnb. Grant here today, joined by Graham Waldrop of Graham and the band upstairs. Graham, how we doing here on this beautiful Atlanta evening?
Oh, doing well, Grant. Feeling it's been crazy, all the crazy weather we've been having, in the sense of it was freezing, a couple weeks ago. Now it's nice and mild. I'm sure tomorrow will be humid as hell. So sort of messing with my head. Our AC is out right now, so that's been fun. Especially when it was getting hot. So yeah, I'm all over the place, as you can tell. I'm just gonna blame the weather.
Yeah, I mean, I know the AC game's tough. Any way you slice it, whether you don't have it or if the heat's broken or the AC is broken, you're just in this weird stasis, and now you're like, all right, I got to open the doors, make sure the windows are open so I can let the nice air in, the fresh air. So
yeah, our landlord's doing everything he can to not have to replace the unit. So you keep sending this guy over, they keep trying stuff. So I think eventually they're going to have to replace it. They're like, keep the thing off. It doesn't matter even if it works a little bit. I was like, okay, we're really sweating our asses off over here, but so be it.
Hey man, we're kind of hot. Maybe we just replace the unit, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm paying your rent, so
exactly.
I'm paying your deal. Let's go.
Exactly.
I like it. Well, we'll get off the AC talk. We'll talk the band upstairs. It'd probably be pretty hot if you're a band upstairs right now because of the AC and the hot air rising. But talk to me about you've got it's you and a group of buddies, or how'd you guys get this thing rolling?
Yeah, the band is comprised of a group of friends of mine that I've known all of them for at least 10 years. I think now at least 12 years in some like a minimal level. So I mean, I've known a few people like 15, 17 years now, and they're all very musically inclined. I really didn't get into playing music in any sort of serious fashion until like end of 2019. And then when the pandemic happened, I really got into it. And I never really had any aspirations to make music. And then I was like, I've always been a writer. I'm an independent filmmaker. And I was like, let me just try to do this because I got nothing else to do. I got laid off from my day job and I couldn't find a job anywhere. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to like try to get good at this guitar I've had for, 15 years now, or however long it was at the time. And just worked on it, studied music. Big fan of Bob Dylan and Neil Young in particular. I was just studying chord progressions and keys and stuff like that. And I started learning songs, and I was like, let me try to write some songs. And then I did like 9 songs and put demos together. And I started showing them to my, all my friends who were interested in music. And this group of people that I got together, slowly got into the music, and we started making music together. And we've been together since about March 2021. And I think we're really gelling now. So now we've been starting to play live more, recording stuff, and trying to put out a full LP this year if we can swing it. So
I love it. So you kind of like you tapped into your community. Now you said you're an independent filmmaker. Like, does that play a role in how you write and like kind of you tell stories naturally? It sounds like so. Both the people you mentioned are both great storytellers with their music. So is that something you aspire to do as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think all the music I write is very much rooted in storytelling. Every song has a story to tell. And I like to also try to have a lot of layers and subtext in my songs. So it's not like what you hear is what you get necessarily. I like to think that a lot of our songs have a deeper meaning behind them and different interpretations too. Just like it's not one size fits all music, especially lyrically. So that's sort of the goal of that. But yeah, it is very much like I always try to tell a story with the lyrics.
Gotcha. So have you with your filmmaking, like have you made songs with have you made songs accompanying any films you've made, or has there been kind of one before the other?
Yeah, it was definitely one before the other. It was I made a feature film called Release, which we actually shot here in when was that? 2015 we shot it. Finally came out in 2019. Post-production is a nightmare. We got distributed and everything. But yeah, that was such a pain, and we worked really hard on it. And this is a completely different group of friends. And once we got the distribution in place, I was really hoping that things would kind of take off and that would set up the next project, and that just never really happened, unfortunately. And we're still trying to get the people I made that film with were still trying to get some stuff off the ground, but and I was like, man, making music is still really hard, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. We self-finance release, and I think the final budget was like 50-60 grand when it was all said and done. And it's a small movie, small independent movie too. It's not like a big action scene or anything like that. So I've really enjoyed the musical process and learning how that works and just seeing results faster. It still takes a while, so a lot of hard work, but it's like, you don't need as many people, you don't need as much money. You can sort of do things more in your own terms to a degree.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, with your 9 songs and the things you've already recorded, like, take us through that process. Like, what do how do you start? What is you mentioned you studied some chord progressions, and do you start with the melody? Do we start lyrically? Like, how do we get a song rolling for you?
Yeah, I definitely start lyrically. I think about something that's interesting to me. It could be something from my life, it could be something unrelated to my life, but it comes from something rooted that's personal. And then I try to just twist it and make a song out of it. So none of it's like really autobiographical or anything like that, but it comes from a personal place, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I start with the lyrics, and then I start just messing around with various progressions to try to think about, what key I want to be in and things like that. And I mess around with it. I mean, one of our songs has gone through like 4 or 5 different key signatures before we finally found the right one. But when I was making those demos, it was very isolated for the most part. And then when I started bringing it to my friends and, some of my, in the group and the band, like Jeff Day DeLoria, our lead guitarist, he's been, playing music forever. And he's been in a couple of Atlanta bands, including Other Brother, and who played a ton before the pandemic. And, he would always give me great feedback on it. And I always lean on my musically inclined friends. My drummer, also Zach Strum, he drums with this great artist, Alexa Rose, who's just been touring all over the place. And, they would always give me a lot of great feedback. My wife's been huge in giving me feedback. And then, so I start to slowly think about how things are going to change and what needs to happen to make these songs come together. And then we actually start working on them together. That's when the magic really happens. That's when everybody sort of comes to the table with a lot more ideas. We're working on it in real time. And I'm a big fan of collaboration, even though I'm kind of driving, so I guess the creative kind of driving force behind the material. I don't think that, it's not like, but I lean on everybody to be like, what do you think? Does this work? Do you have an idea? To the point where we just, we'll ping pong things in practice for hours, just trying things out, trying people's ideas out, seeing what can work, what doesn't work. And so it's super collaborative. And I have this sort of motto is there are no bad ideas, only better ones. And we really try to stick to that. And then we keep drilling it until we get it right. And yeah.
I like it. So very collaborative. You're leaning on some other people, but you're driving the bus.
Yeah.
It sounds like, you start the bus and then you add on some passengers, you get what they think about the direction of where it's going. And then you kind of, keep rolling from there, and ultimately, something great comes out of it. So I think that's an awesome way to think about it. Mm-hmm. Within, obviously we've got one song out on Spotify now. That's the one we listened to prior to this, and I love that you mentioned earlier, like, you start something lyrically, something personal. So, like, with Home to You, how did you start that one? What was the inspiration, the spark, and then kind of take us through that little bit of a process there. The spark to you start bringing things to your group and your support system, and let's go soup to nuts on that one.
Yeah, so Home to You was really interesting. I just helped my mom move, and I was driving home. She lives in North Carolina, and I was driving home, and then all of a sudden, all these lyrics just started pouring into my head. Like, I'd never had something like that happen before. It was just like this entire story just like came out, and I was like, what the hell? And so I just grabbed my phone and started doing like the voice memo thing. I just started screaming all these lyrics into the phone. And looking back at it now, it's really funny. It's all just a bunch of gobbledygook, but I could tell what it was, when I looked at it. But it's like, I had no idea where this song came from. It's one of the few songs actually where it just sort of came out. I had to like redo it a little bit when I got home, but it was really weird. I never had a song come to me like that. I've heard some people talk about how like the song chooses you, and this is one of those instances where that's happened. It's never happened before. It's never happened since, but it was really cool. And I think where it came from was just really rooted in relationships I've seen, some relationships I've been in before, and just really thinking about how people communicate and what people want, and how nothing's really black and white. There's a lot of contradictory lyrics in the song. I feel like where someone is, with somebody that they love, but they're also thinking about things that are going on around them, thinking about possibilities of the future. Is this right for me? Which I thought was relatable. But yeah, so it's rooted in some level of personal things that have happened or people I know. But it's just interesting how that came without really thinking about it. Usually I have like a topic, and then I sort of iterate upon that. This is just like an explosion. So.
Gotcha. Is that why you chose it to be, released first, or do you feel like you wanted to? You're like, oh man, this one was just came to me. Let's push it out first to see.
It was just one of those things where it was one of the songs that we really just vibed with really fast as a group. Our backing vocalist Veronica and I sort of worked a ton on, how the song should sound, sort of the sweet sounding, vocals and melody, the contrast of sort of these kind of bitter and existential lyrics. And we worked hard on that, but it came pretty fast. And then, Jeff, who I mentioned before, lead guitarist, just came in with these wonderful licks on top of this really, pretty simple chord progression. But I wanted the music to be simple. And then we just have Zach on the kick drum, and my wife actually plays the bass on that song, Alexa. And, everybody just sort of came together really fast on it. And it was just one of those things where it's like, out of all the songs, that one came together really, really quick, and we knew what it was. We worked on things, we iterated upon it, but from the first couple months we worked on it, it was one of the 2 or 3 songs where like, yeah, this is really going places fast. So.
Isn't that cool when you just kind of know that, and it's like, man, like this is the one, and this one's easy and good, and you're like, you got to work on them, but it gets there. That seems like a lot of the songs we call out. It's funny when we talk to artists, it's like, yeah, like how'd you guys come up with this one? It's like 90% of the time they're like, yeah, I wrote that one in 5 seconds, and like they were like, oh, we wrote that one in 1 day, and I'm like, man, like it seems like when you get that shock of inspiration, it goes through. So, I do want to, come back to, the band upstairs, Graham and the band upstairs. We always ask what's in the name. I've gotten multiple different answers. I had one guy tell me one thing, and then I went to his show and he explained why they were called the band name at the show. And I was like, I turned to my buddy, I was like, that's not what he told me, but I don't know.
It's hilarious. So this was interesting. So we usually practice at Veronica's house, and her husband's been like my best friend since I was like 10 or 11 or something. And we always practice in this sort of upstairs area. And whenever we have like a weekend practice, usually like a lot of our friend group will come over and hang out downstairs or watch us play. And then we'll usually have like a drunken live karaoke after that, after we kind of wrap up all the band stuff. And we were downstairs taking a break, hanging out with people, having a drink. And Adam just says, someone asked like, well, how long is the band going to keep playing? He goes, oh, well, that band upstairs is going to keep playing for at least, the next 5 or 6 hours. They just don't stop. And then, I was like, oh man, that could be kind of cool, band upstairs. And since we play up there all the time, it just made sense, and sort of ran it by everybody, and everybody dug it. And it was kind of, evolved organically. So that's how the name came to be.
I like it. That's an organic. It's a cool, the band upstairs. And, what, with you guys, when you're practicing and stuff, like, is it mainly, are you practicing for those live sets? Like, or, when you're creating music, like, do you keep all that in mind, whenever you're creating stuff as well?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It sort of depends on what the objective is. We kind of started practicing all the songs all together over like the course of like a weekend or like during the week and things like that. And then we have really big sessions during other weekends. Sometimes we work on all of them. And the goal initially was just, let's figure out the music. But it was a lot to work on, where it was like, man, over, 2 or 3 8-hour practice days, we're working on these songs. Everybody's exhausted. So we sort of started to narrow it down. It's like, okay, let's focus on these songs that are really working. And we'll figure, we're thinking these are the ones we want to record first, kind of deal. So we do that. And then when we started to play live, it became about, okay, now we got to just get these songs ready for live. So then we'd start, doing sort of like a dress rehearsal run where we go through the set after we're comfortable with everything. And we act, there's no mistakes. We don't stop playing. It's like we're just treating it like it's a live scenario. So it sort of just depends on what the objective is, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes, I think you can get caught up either way, where maybe if you do the live thing a little too much, then maybe you're not working on something really specific in the song that needs to be worked on. So it's sort of like, it's been a big iterative process figuring out how to do practices right. But I think we're doing it right now, where we have a really good balance of nailing the songs down first, having the objective in mind, and then once the songs feel good, we just drill it until we think it's in a good place, whether or not we're preparing to go record or play live.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've had people who've like been like, yeah, we go like before we go record, it's like we are tight and we are ready to go, because we're at the moment we get in that studio, it's business time. And then we have other people who will be like, yeah, we go in the studio and we kind of like iterate. So it sounds like you guys are tightened up and we're ready to go as soon as you get in there.
Yeah, for the most part. It was funny though. We usually don't play to a click track, and but we do keep track of tempo. And I was just noticing before we did our last studio session in February, I was like, man, we're just going a little too fast. Maybe we should play to a click. And so we started playing to a click to all the songs. We felt pretty good about it. And then we get to the studio, we're playing the first song, and the our engineer producer comes out and just is like, man, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm getting like 5 different tempos here. And we're like, okay, well, screw it then. I guess we'll just ditch the click. So it's been fun trying to figure that out. But when we ditch the click, ironically, like we're pretty in sync. Like we maybe waver like by a BPM or 2, but it's not really noticeable. So Go figure.
Yeah, you gotta. I like it. Ditch the click. Got to get. You have to have it loose and ready to go.
Yeah, but, and we were prepared for that. We talked about that too before we went up there. It's like, hey, if this is not working, we can ditch it. Like, be prepared for that. So,
I like it. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I do want to talk about the live set. It looks like you guys have played at Smith's Old Bar. That's one of our favorite places. We're big Smith's crew. And so, talk about your show there. I mean, like, what when did you guys play there, and like what was the scene, and give me the details.
Yeah, we played there, I think it was December 9th, which was a Friday, and this was only our second live show. We played a live show before that, this sort of neighborhood block party, and that was fun. And then I was like, man, I'd love to just do another show before the end of the year. It was an exhilarating experience playing live. I'd never done it before. I loved the hell out of it. And so we were trying to find a date, and then with Smith's, and then they recommended us opening for these 2 bands that are coming in town, Brother in the Haze and Certainly So. Were both just excellent bands. And so I'm like, oh man, like these guys are really good. They're from Nashville. They're excellent. And so we practiced the hell out of our set, and just got really, really prepared, and went in there and didn't really feel like it was, we weren't really too nervous. And we brought a good amount of people out and that's what they were hoping we would do. Since they were out of town, we were local. And, my mom came in town and brought in all these friends that she had. And then we had our friend group came, which was about 20 people. And then they got more people to come too. So we felt really comfortable, because there was a lot of people in the audience from people we knew. It was like we're playing a show for them, which was fun. And the other bands were great to talk to and hear play too. But I was a little nervous in the first song, and then everything, thought it was beautiful. Thought just left my mind. So I feel like thought's like the worst thing that can happen when you're playing music sometimes. Like when you have to go out and actually perform, it can totally screw you up. And it was just one of those things, we were just in the moment, weren't thinking about anything, just playing the hell out of the songs. And we can definitely always get better and stuff, but I think that was like a big moment for our band, just in our progression of just getting better and getting tighter. It felt awesome, and the Smith staff were fantastic, and loved the experience. I've seen so many shows there, so to play on that stage was really cool.
Yeah, I think that that's such an interesting venue. You're looking at it and you're like, man, like that'd be cool to be the person singing out there, and now you get you've done it, so that's very cool. Like, I mean, and that's pretty quick. I mean, like you really you've been around music, but like it didn't, is that's your first kind of your second gig, like all time ever? You're out in front of a crowd of, probably a pretty good big part of that cap room downstairs. I mean, like that's not an easy feat. I mean, you can't just, people don't just wake up and do that. Like, I think that's a testament to y'all's, just your preparation, and that's very cool. So, good
Yeah,
on
no,
you.
thank you. Thanks.
What about the set list? Kind of talking about, like, how do you like to bring the crowd up? How do you like, so for somebody who hadn't seen you, I did not have the fortune, but what should somebody expect from a Graham and the Band Upstairs show?
Yeah, well, we figured out pretty early on in that first set, like, know your audience, know where you are. We had a couple of like really slow songs. One of them was Home to You, and it just was not right for that setting. Home to You is more of like a private listening experience, I feel like, or like a house show.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of small, slower songs under that, you could tell people were kind of losing interest. So we kind of ditched that. And at the Smith show, it was just balls to the wall the whole time. We opened with Mansion on the Hill, Neil Young from Ragged Glory, and really just got things going. Then we went into our sort of bluesy number, Stand Still Blues. And then we did another kind of banger song, Kiss the River. And then we did which is our collective favorite song, called The Oak, which is 8 minutes of sort of blues, rock, folk kind of mashed into one. And man, we all love that song. I can't wait for people to hear it like in its final studio form, or if they come out to our next show, which actually is going to be at Smith's on May 3rd. Hasn't been formally announced yet, but that's what's going to happen. And then we ended it with Stuck Inside a Mobile, Bob Dylan, which is something that's just really fun to play. And especially after playing a song for 8 minutes, it's good to just be able to like relax and have some fun. That's a really just fun and bouncy song. So yeah, that's we only had 30 minutes that time. I think if we were to play a longer set, we would sort of diversify a little bit. But that's one thing we always try to do with our music, is like every song has an identity. No song should sound exactly the same. And you should, hopefully the melodies are catchy enough to stick in your head, and same with the lyrics in a different sense. But I can't stand when bands have a bunch of songs that just blend all together. I just get bored really fast. So that's been one of my tenets as a songwriter, not to do that. Every song should be as distinct as possible.
Yeah, for sure. I always am like, I feel like if I'm wondering what song was which after each one of them, I think that they've done a good job. And like, to me, like the magic of live music is like, you kind of like have that mystery. It's like, now I got to go listen to your whole catalog to find out what songs they played.
Right.
Or, I gotta hopefully wait for Setlist FM to come out, and like I gotta know what, to be able to go like relive it again and again.
Yeah.
And so I think like that's a good, that's a good mantra to keep it fresh, for each different, wavelength. But well, look, I think like I'm excited to get you here into Pete Peterson's party pack of questions.
Yeah.
We're gonna roll through it quickly. It's 20 questions right in a row. Pete Peterson's party pack. Graham, let's get into it. Cake or pie?
Pie, for sure. Pumpkin pie specifically.
Ooh, pumpkin pie. I like that.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper Jr. Salad or soup?
I would take soup. Hot and sour soup specifically.
Hot and sour soup. All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset for sure, because I'm never awake to see the sunrise.
Okay. All right. Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Score touchdowns. I've hit a home run before in baseball, so touchdown.
Nice. All right. Night in or night out? What do you have more of these days?
I would say more so night in as the older I get. I still love a good night out, but night in is fun.
I like it. If you do go out and your jam comes on, are you more likely to do the robot or the worm?
Probably the robot.
Right. Guac or queso at your local
Definitely.
Mexican spot?
Guac 1,000%.
All right, I like it. Waffles or pancakes?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I will say waffles.
Right. Coffee or tea with your waffles?
Oh, I don't like either one. Is that an acceptable answer? I drink milk, water, and liquor. That's about it. So
milk, water, and liquor. I like that.
Yeah.
MWL, milk, water, liquor. That's good. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right. Are you more like a ninja or a pirate?
I'm not very fast, so I guess I'm pirate.
Gatorade or Powerade?
If I had to pick, I guess Gatorade.
Right. Toast or bagels?
Oh, bagels for sure. A little more flavor going on.
I like it. All right. Chips or pretzels?
Pretzels.
Okay. Fries or tots?
I guess fries historically, but a good tot's hard to beat.
Okay. When you sit down after a long day, are you watching a TV show or a movie?
Probably a TV show.
TV show. Are aliens real?
I think so. I think it's impossible that we're the only living beings in the universe. It just doesn't make sense to me that we would be the only ones. So yes, I say so.
Is Bigfoot real?
No.
Bigfoot's out. All right.
Yeah.
Love at first sight. Is it real?
No, I think the idea can be real, but I don't think it's an actual real thing. I don't think that's ever true.
All right. All right. And who are two bands, just two, that we ought to check out that we might not know that we can say Graham and the band upstairs sent us to check you out?
Yeah, I would say Alexa Woodward, who doesn't make music as much as she used to, but I think she's the best songwriter of the 21st century. She's absolutely brilliant, banjo player, very folky sound, beautiful voice, hell of an artist. So that's one. And then Elin Jewell has been making music since about 2005 or 2006, sort of country folk vibe going on. She's awesome. She's got a show at Eddie's Attic in May. I can't remember the date, but I'm going. Brilliant artists. Both of those ladies are tremendous. They've been hugely influential on my songwriting. So that's who I would recommend to check out.
All right, awesome. I got Alexa Woodward and I got Elin Jewell.
Yeah.
And you, sir, are Graham Waldrop of the Graham and the band upstairs. What's next? What do we got coming out? Talk about, I know we got the Smith show coming up on the 3rd. What else we got?
Yeah, we got another song coming out to Spotify on April 14th called Standstill Blues. Super fun song. Home to You is, a little slower, but Standstill Blues is definitely our most energetic, most fun song that we've done so far. It's really cool. So that's coming out April 14th. And then we've got, the show at Smith's on May 3rd. And hopefully we're going to get back in the studio soon and wrap up our album. And then we're hoping to get that album out either late summer or sometime later this year. So that's what's on the horizon.
Love it. Love it. Graham and the band upstairs. Graham, I appreciate you taking the time to walk upstairs and do this podcast for us.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
get you guys going. I appreciate you coming on board, and we'll be looking out for all that new music coming up, and we'll be checking out Alexa Woodward and Elin Jewell. But thanks so much for coming on, man. We appreciate you letting us host you here.
Yeah, no, thanks, Grant. Appreciate it. It's awesome being on here. Great questions.